Yeah, well, we're paralleling the ice skate now, so we're trying to minimise drives a little bit on that last one and push into the shift, but I think we're about 10 hours away from hitting it again in some big breeze, and we'll probably be back on the fro at that stage. So.
Yeah, we're just about to start. Probably 72 hours of a lot of driving. We've done our first drive onto starboard, and we managed to cross the majority of the fleet with just MAPFRE in front of us, so we're in a good position.
You definitely get settled on one tack, and obviously all of our gear down below and on deck is all on one side, and you've made your little home in your bunk. So yeah, when you change sides, it definitely disrupts a little bit. You just mentally got to get ready for not a lot of sleep and a lot of jibing action. But yeah, we saw in leg 3 that's what you had to do to win the leg, was to stay close to the ice skate line. So here we go.
As expected, wind's building now into 35 to 40 knots. It's pretty solid basically, right on the limit, survival conditions.
Bueno, hoy hay que agarrarse fuerte porque si no las olas te tiran y obviamente queremos aguantar las velas grandes arriba, por lo que hay que estar concentrado en la caña y agarrarse bien fuerte cuando estés allá afuera y atarse.
Las 4 horas a veces se hacen bastante largas, y sobre todo en las manos y los pies, que es donde más frío pasas. Cada uno se busca sus truquillos para combatir ese frío e intentar que el viaje este sea lo menos duro posible, ¿no? Estamos usando ahora unos guantes de buzo, que son unos guantes que se pone una anilla dentro de la goma y te mantienen totalmente seca la mano, ¿no?
Yeah, when you're on the main, holding the main sheet, obviously it's always wet, so the water is going through your gloves and making your hands absolutely freezing. For me, that's the coldest time for my hands. They get basically painful. The other thing doing the main is you're not really moving. You are doing something, but your body isn't moving, so after an hour and a half doing that, you get pretty cold.
Pues el casco es una forma de protegerse la cara, no solo de los golpes, sino del agua, ¿no? Hay gente que prefiere llevarlo, otros que no. Yo siempre que llevo la caña lo llevo puesto porque te protege la cara y ves, es una pantalla y ves, ¿no? Y hay tanta agua que hay un momento que dejas de ver, ¿no? Entonces el casco está por ahí para eso.
Wet on board, and it's pretty hard to sleep and eat and just live on board. The boat is like a roller coaster, dropping off 20-30 foot waves all the time, so it's a little bit harder to be on board, but at least we're going fast.
Yeah, there is 35 to 40 knots of breeze and big waves. So one hand the sailing is really fun, and on the other hand, of course, it's hairy because you know, if you do something wrong, it can go terribly wrong. So it's always to find that balance.
I'm enjoying it, but it's really hard.
yeah. This one is a small one compared to what we are going to have in a few days. But, so when the boat starts to be fast, it's very fast, and sometimes you can't stop it. So it's a bit intense, and you're not always sure how it's going to finish. Previous Southern Ocean legs were obviously getting massive torrents of water through the boat, just wiping out the helmsman off the steering platform. So we've built like a wave breaker. A lot of the boats have got them. Ours is on the leeward side at the moment, so it's completely useless.
Out there it's pretty wild at the moment. It's sort of about 30-35 knots of wind. The boat's doing 30-35 knots down the waves, so half the time you're kind of not really in control. You're just hanging on for dear life. But it's fun at the same time.
Girls and guys doing this all the time have to force themselves to get out of bed, put their gear on, and then once they get on deck, they feel a whole lot better.
At least a half an hour operation. It's like trying to get dressed, I don't know, standing on the back of a flatbed truck doing 100 k's down a bumpy road. Smallest movements become nearly impossible.
Hard work actually, because it's quite bumpy, like it's quite a big sea state, but we're going so fast we keep ploughing into the waves, and the water that comes over the boat is so hard, it's trying to knock you over off your feet.
Well, look at us, there's 3 people here, no one's talking to each other. Everyone's shivering. Not freezing. Everyone's really cold, getting wet. How many days is this Cape Horn? 4. That's fun.
Right now it's moderated a bit from the last video you might have saw, but we're just under 30 knots, and it's, excuse my hearing, but it's like people have been banging and drumming me here all day. So the big thing now is the waves are becoming quite large, so you can't have too much sail up when you're going down big waves and coming up. So you've got to be pretty careful. So we're going as fast as we can. You've got to hang on. I mean, you're getting thrown around a bit. You've got to be careful even when you're down below. If you stand up, you could easily get knocked over when the boat ploughs into a wave. So you've got to be pretty careful, hanging on all the time. On deck, it's cold, and it's going to get worse as we go further south. So I would say it's actually not bad now, but it's going to get a lot colder and a lot chillier on deck, which is going to make things hard.
Wow. Words there from Andrew Cape over the top of Jan Ryu's amazing images from Brunel blasting through the Southern Ocean. I've been there myself 3 times and have sailed through similar conditions, and now back in the studio, it is amazing just to see what that looks like. Spray up to the first spreader, and it's going to go on for days and days and days. So Send a thought out to the sailors in the Southern Ocean. They're certainly going to need it. As the pressure ratchets up, it's not only machines and the boats that are feeling the stress and the strain. There's also a lot of mental strain and certainly emotional one. Check out this video here of Sunkunkai Scallywag skipper David Witt as he faces the reality of sailing in these conditions.
We're driving out the ice gate, trying to hang on to the leaders, and the rudder block, fly block, twisted upside down. So when you know, we brought the new runner on, broke the block and stripped the runner tail. So we were lucky. We could have snapped the runner and lost the rig. We'd now be cutting the rig away. So so then we had to take evasive action and repair it. So we managed to jury rig it, pull it apart, repair it, put it back together, and now we're off and going again. So the result is we're now 110 miles behind, but you know, what happens.
As the fleet fire their way through the South Pacific, let's remind ourselves of what the route looks like. Auckland via the Antarctic ice gate all the way to Cape Horn, and then turning left in the last 2,000 miles up to a warm welcome in Brazil. However, they are still in the thick of it, bouncing their way down that line, with the exception of Sunkunkai Scallywag, forced to do a long jibe up to the north with running repairs after their runner broke recently. However, the rest of the fleet is diving down as close to as possible to that red line. The southern option means faster winds, faster waves, and less wind sailed. So all of the boats chopping and changing, lots and lots of lead changes over the past 24 hours. However, looking forward as they scoot along underneath Point Nemo, the most isolated point on the planet, you can see that they are being chased by a massive Southern Ocean storm as they've file their way up towards Cape Horn. Now, lots of options. The weather options are very variable, and it's going to be an interesting game to see exactly what way they approach Cape Horn, but either way, it's going to be plenty spicy.
The rankings are done on distance towards the Cape Horn waypoint, so they don't include the wind direction. You know, we measure that the lead based on what the wind direction, the predicted wind direction is. So I've got my own little table here. I must say we're looking pretty good on it. So it's about positioning yourself for the shifts. And you know, because we're running, BMG running, it's all about the wind direction and speed. So it's not as simple as just distance. So you know, as you say, the distance has changed a lot towards the waypoint, but that's quite misleading relative to the wind direction.
And so the equivalent of how many Sydney-Hobart races until Cape Horn? Okay.
Hang on, it'll be on my sheet here.
I know that's your unit of measure for offshore.
6.8.
Fantastic.
It's the only measure of any ocean race. 6.8 to the finish.
I'm joined now by Gonzalo Infante, who is our in-house meteorologist. How's it going?
All good, Conrad, all good.
Fantastic, good. Now, yesterday we had a couple of questions regarding the ice gates and the fact that it was moving, and I was wondering if you can just start off by telling us a little bit about what ice gates are and why we need them.
Well, the ice limits are imaginary lines that the race organizers place in order to minimize the risk of any competitor seeing an iceberg or have a collision with an iceberg.
Okay, and so what motivated you to open up some new territory for the guys to go play in?
This is a very good question, because the ice limits, the decision making around the ice limits is really linked with the weather. It's an interlinked process. Let me explain you.
Yeah.
When we place the ice limits 1 week before the start, we had a lot of information, but we plan to scan the last part of the leg once the boats are closer to it.
Sure.
So
we
we
can
can
have
have
the freshest information.
Fresh information.
Okay.
And what we need to decide is where to place those scans. We knew that we could have bad weather scenarios in Cape Horn, so we decided that we were going to have variable positions of the scans. And once we had certainty of the low pressures that were approaching Cape Horn, we place, we decide where to scan.
Yeah.
And this gave us information to open up more the ice limit. And why opening? Is because this is going to remove the need of jibing that much, close to the ice limit. And will also provide an escape in case something is left, someone is left behind.
Yeah. Because there's a massive system that's going to be chasing the boats in the last 1,500 miles towards Cape Horn, right?
Absolutely, with massive sea state, and normally the escapes, once you are there, the escapes are south.
Right.
So by opening it, we are also giving the choice to the skippers to find escape south.
Well, thank you very much for your valuable insight and for keeping a watchful eye out over the fleet. You're acting a little bit like the guardian angel for them out there. But let's go back and hear from Andrew Cape, who's currently out on the water, as to his thoughts on the ice exclusion zone.
It's helped a lot because we just to minimise the amount of jibes we're going to have to do. Which is just painful, to be honest. I mean, just such hard work, and it puts a bit of load on the gear. So just minimising that's helped a lot. But so we can get down a bit further and get one jibe into Cape Horn. But could have gone a bit further than me. We're 240 miles away from the nearest ice, and we've still got to do a jibe or two to get around the last sort of point, if you like, of the ice exclusion zone.
Back in your first couple of editions of this race, you were sort of ducking and diving in between Iceberg Alley. Can you talk us through those moments?
Yep, they were the good old days for a reason, and that was one of them. Only, see a bit of ice, adds to the excitement. That was different. You had to be very vigilant of water temperatures and just on the radar to make sure there was anything in your way. And those days are slightly gone, but the technology now where you can identify where icebergs are, I mean, you've got to use it and for safety reasons. So, but in saying that, I mean, cutting it a bit closer, within 50 miles of where they think these icebergs are, I think would make sense.
Andrew Cape is a little bit sort of been there, done that. He is looking for an even closer shave with the icebergs. However, lots of awesome images from Brunel today, but they by no means have a monopoly on all of the exciting action. Check out this mashup from the rest of the fleet. You've seen the dramatic images of what life is like out there right now. You've heard my forecast, but let's check in with Andrew Cape one final time to see the navigator's eye on the weather coming up.
We're going to be still jibing around the ice exclusion zone today, and the breeze will moderate, which is good. The worst of that pressure has gone through, so next day is looking quite it's relatively pleasant in terms of wind speed. We've got looking at 4.5 days to get to the Horn. When we finally jibe, 2 days out to go towards the Horn, it's going to get pretty. There'll be some hairy moments in that, I think. It'll get pretty windy, and even when you approach the coast of towards Chile, it'll get pretty gnarly. So, we'll just strap her on and see how it goes.
We started today's shows with incredible images from OBR Jan Ryu. This French specialist has been through the Southern Ocean several times on all different kinds of boats, and that experience is clearly coming into play as he is able to get his drone up into the air, get amazing images, and amazingly gets it back down again. Let's hear from him talking about just how hard life is on board, not only for the sailors, but also for him when it comes back to sending back incredible material.
Well, obviously on deck it's dark and it's very wet. The sea state is quite big. I was surprised when I went on deck this evening by the sea state. So that's outside, and inside it's a little bit difficult to live and to work because it's moving a lot. I had a couple of issues today. One of them was my camera, which was stored on my top bunk, which fell down to the desk where I'm working on my head, breaking the microphone. And at the same time, my laptop one was slippery. It was on its way to the bilge. I just saved it from half a meter or something like that. That was during a wipe out. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to live. It's not easy to work.
Well, thank you, Jan. The fans, thank you for your dedication to your task. Now, I'd like to ask you a little bit about the Southern Ocean. You've been through here on a Volvo 70, a Volvo 65, and a Super Maxi multi-hull. Is this year looking like a classic passage towards Cape Horn?
It reminds me pretty much of the edition 11-12 of the Volvo Ocean Race on the Volvo 70 Groupama. Because the last edition we didn't have that kind of sea state and that wind not for such a long time. It looks like we're gonna hold that for 4 or 5 days. So it's pretty much like the 11-12 edition. It's quite impressive. I didn't remember it was like this. I mean, when I went on deck today, I was surprised.
One last question. For those spectacular images that you sent through to us just a few minutes ago, can you talk to us about how difficult it is to control the drone when it's blowing 38 knots?
I was a bit surprised though when I started flying. It was difficult to keep the drone in the axis of the boat. But after a while, I managed somehow to do that. And the recovery was a little bit more complicated because of the sea state. The height of the boat is changing all the time, so you have to follow with the drone. But yeah, with a little bit of practice and a little bit of luck, it went well.
Well, that's all that we have time for today. It's time for me to knock off, but all of the sailors are still out there thrashing away through the Southern Ocean. Don't forget to tune in again tomorrow to see what's going on.
Juan Vila, the last time we spoke to him was at the Hobart Race last year, but he's on the Volvo heading towards Cape Horn. So you've had a pretty eventful race so far, Juan.
Yeah, it's always looking forward to this leg for us. It's a very important leg, and it's a typical Southern Ocean around the Horn. So it's one of the legs when you start a Volvo you dream to. But yeah, hopefully after that, when we finish the Volvo, we can join Wild Oats for the Hobart again.
You're going to make it a red boat race, or?
Yeah. At the moment it looks like this way, but on our fleet it's actually very competitive, and we saw that on the last leg. So it would be tough from
Let's give it up for Team Brunel!
Well, mate, your red boat challenge, media challenge, has been quite an eventful look as far as the race is concerned, hasn't it? You've sort of excelled yourselves, you and Dongfeng.
Yeah, well, we've just been sailing, even training together for a while as a Dongfeng. So,
that's right, yes.
So yeah, we know pretty much each other. So yeah, they've proven to be a very difficult boat to beat, and they're sailing amazingly as well. So.
As a navigator, which way are you going? Are you going straight down, or are you going out?
I mean, we can change our mind from here to East Cape, but at the moment it looks like it's going to be straight down.
Yeah, well, you can tell me. I'll put it to air later on, so nobody can see it.
That's all right.
Well, listen, have a great race, Juan.
Thank you.
Are you coming over to the Hobart Race next year?
Hopefully so, yeah, hopefully.
Oh, great. Well, we'll see you there. See you in Sydney.
See you.
All the best.
Thank you.